Well, you're raising the dead or shooting for the stars. Well, you can't go wrong with a Pottymouth guitar.
All right. Welcome, folks, to Pottymouth Guitars. You're looking at Earl Pottymouth Arbuckle here. And what we're going to do today in this video is we're working on the Pottycaster for Stacy Shea Williams. And we're getting it ready for a clear coat. So that's an important part. It's towards the end of the process. I got to get that done to get to the clear coat, so once the clear coat's on, I can finish the guitar. Stacy Shea would like to take delivery of this baby in December, and we're now at the beginning of December, so time to jump start this thing. Now that I've got the Pottymouth Guitars bench built, with a nice neck vise and everything, and it's a lot more comfortable to work here. So I'm very happy to have Stacy Shea's guitar be the first guitar that I finish on this bench. And last time what we did is we worked on the edges. So the last two videos, actually, we've been working on the edges. The very last one, we put this color, which is Angelus Glitter Lights paint, and the color name is Raspberry with two Z's, Raspberry. And now, the time before that, we worked on this, which is Candy Pink. And this is a faux binding that I created because I wanted a glitter binding, and there isn't really glitter binding available. And plus, I didn't have the tools or the ability to route a binding channel here on the top of the guitar. So I just created one by just putting layer after layer after layer of glitter paint on, and building it up to make it look like there's actually a physical kind of plastic binding material laid around. So, but what happened, because I am not a seasoned, experienced, journeyman, expert luthier, I am learn as I go kind of style, and we're learning as we go, and I'm videoing these so you can learn along with me. So when I make mistakes, you can watch me make the mistake and avoid making that mistake yourself, and maybe be entertained by my mistake. Who knows? And hopefully I give you a good show. So what I had done was I did all this binding, faux binding and everything, doing great. And then went ahead and started the clear coat process. And what I did first, in this surface here, I put a sealer coat. And I needed to put a petroleum-based sealer because this, all the little silver color in this guitar is a wax grain filler. So there's wax in that grain filler. So if I tried to use a water-based sealer, or if I tried to use a water-based finish, clear coat, I would be in danger of having that clear coat beat up and not adhere to those wax, the the portions that are covered in wax. So put that sealer on, hunky-dory, smearing that sealer on, talking away. You can watch that video as well as I unwittingly smear sealer all over the front and the sides. I went ahead and sealed the sides. And what happened was that the sealer leached some of the pink out of the finish. Bled basically ran down the sides and then beaded up around some areas of the guitar, most notably right up in here. So there was a bunch of, or actually right up near the horn in this area. So there was a bunch of sealer up there, some down here anyway, and I wasn't able to just kind of flake it off. So I had to sand it, and which meant I had to re-dye this. So I re-dyed this surface, and in the process, I dyed the glitter binding, the faux binding. So there was a rim of this pink dyeing that binding. So I had to renew that binding, and that gave me a chance to take a look, see at what was looking, or what was happening with the side. And turns out it's looking pretty dingy next to all that fresh glitter next to it. So I refreshed that one, and of course that highlights that this needs a little bit of a refresh. So we're going to go ahead and redo all of the binding, now the top section, and then we will have refreshed all of that, and it'll be, which is great. We want to make sure that that the guitar is looking its best when I deliver it to Stacy Shea, and because I want her to smile every time she looks down at this guitar when she's playing it, and I don't want any dingy glitter making her want to frown, because that's no fun. So I did use some of that candy pink second to last video, and I'm not even going to open that bottle because that candy pink was getting a little bit dense, kind of thick, and I know I've got a fresh bottle of that stuff in here somewhere, and shazam, here we go. So I've learned to overbuy just a little bit, and especially when you've got these little tiny bottles. It's easy to run out when you don't know you're running out. And that's what happened the first time I did this raspberry. The first application of the raspberry, I only got partway through and had to wait forever to get another bottle of it. And that's how I ended up finding the Deco Art glitter, because I was looking for something that would match. And I found the Deco Art, and it didn't match, but boy, it sure looks great on its own. So I've been doing some guitars with the Deco Art. And so let's get to this. Now what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to be using this Angelus Glitter Lights flexible acrylic glitter paint. It's made for shoes. Looks great on guitars too. And you don't have to worry about it cracking in case your guitar bends. But that's not going to happen. So, but I like this nice fine glitter, and we're going to freshen up this top binding, which is the most visible. So good there. And I can also, if I did any slop over on the other binding, I can fix that. So let's take a look. See here. Got this nice bench. We got plenty of surfaces I can put stuff where I won't knock it off the table with my elbow, which is a danger. So let's start right here. And actually, we've got a spot right here where I obviously couldn't see what I was doing and painted over the candy pink with raspberry right here. So boom, boom, boom. Solving problems right off the bat. That's a good way to start. So as I apply this, the beauty of painting is that sure, the results are fun and it's really exciting when if you start getting better and better at painting, or those moments when you're like you thought of something in your mind and like, man, I'd like to paint that. You go ahead and go through all the trouble of getting the paint out, maybe even buying some special paint to realize that project or something. Do all that. And at a certain point on those special projects, there are times when you realize that you've actually nailed it. That thing that you had in your brain is now on canvas or on paper or on film. And if that isn't a satisfying feeling, I don't know what is. Because boy, oh boy, it's just a kind of experience you can't duplicate and you can't explain it. But it does explain itself sort of as evidence of itself, which is kind of a horrible way of proving things, but we're not trying to solve a problem here. We're just trying to articulate a phenomena that happens. The art phenomena. And in situations like that, I feel comfortable explaining something based on just empirical evidence and even a small sampling of my own experience. Now I'm sticking my heel of my hand right in the paint that I've just done. So let's stop doing that. I can stop doing that by paying closer attention to what I'm doing. Okay, we got to switch to the bottle anyway here. Anyway, and we can already see exactly how I could have solved that and can solve that right here and now. I'm going to start over here and revolve that around this way. I'm going to reach where I started That way I won't rest the heel of my hand in the paint that I just laid down. So anyway, so yeah, and I've had more of that kind of experience, that sort of aha, wow, I just made that thing, or that's what I was hoping with music, with songs that I've written, I've heard in my head and was able to actually reproduce that. And yeah, it's a phenomena. I don't know. It's not yeah, and it's not something I can explain or forcefully reproduce. On command, but it happens every once in a while. And actually, it's kind of nice that I don't have control over it, I guess. I mean, only nice in the sense of if I had that power, I would probably abuse it. So I probably wish I had that power, but wouldn't want to become the person who had that power. And that's really true of a lot of situations. When I was younger, I wish I was many times I wished I was a Casanova. I wished I'd had the slick, sayings and, that ability to just sort of ask that question or read that moment. And there would be times when I would kind of realize in retrospect that I think that girl might have liked me and wanted to play with me or whatever, but you know what? If I had that power, what if I abused it? What if I lived a life that was characterized by a bunch of broken hearts? Would I be happy with that life? And what kind of person would I have to be in order to not care when somebody fell in love with me? In other words, fell for my offer of love when I had no intention of following through. Do I want to be that type of person that can just walk away from somebody crying in a driveway or parking lot somewhere because I learned to imply that I'd be around, because when I do that, I get to play pocket pool. How long do the justifications last, It's sort of like, hey, they should know better. Those kinds of things. Does that work? And yeah, of course, I've always thought, I hope that I want to believe that they don't. Because I wasn't a ladies' man. So, am I just vigorously patting myself on the back for not having game? And really, in truth, there's probably a ton of people out there, men and women alike, who are able to be, I don't know if you want to call it something that's cavalier. Folks who are a little cavalier, but are able to be super open and honest about it. Able to say things like, hey, you know, if tomorrow you've decided you fall in love with me, that's not where I'm going to be, kind of thing, you know. Somebody who's going to who doesn't mind playing casually, but yeah, is able to give fair warning and not just exploit people just to get them to participate in what you know is good. You know what I mean? Like, we all know that U.S. society is a little too puritanical and could probably do with a little bit of a revamp in terms of attitudes towards sexuality, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to have orgies in the street, you know? So, God knows how I got on that subject. So I was talking about writing music. I don't know how I ended up talking about Casanovas and libertines. But anyway, I'm glad that every once in a while the muse takes me and I'm able to write something that shows up in my head. And I guess I do my best to not think I'm something special, because that happens every once in a while. Certainly not better than. That's a ridiculous notion. Because what if I couldn't write a song all of a sudden? Does that mean I'm not good anymore? All sorts of traps. But this is going on nice and smooth. I'm doing my best to sort of, you see, I'm kind of spending a little time working at the very, very edge where the top meets the side, because I want just a little bit of this glitter paint peeking over. Traditionally, when you put a binding on a guitar, that binding is set in. There's a little groove cut into the wood right around where I'm painting right now, right along this edge. And that groove is cut in just a little bit, so when you look at the guitar from the front, you can see that there's a binding. There's a contrasting color, usually contrasting colored binding that shows up, and it's actually created to hide the seam, hide the seam in an attractive way between the top and the sides of the guitar. And an acoustic guitar, where those are two very different pieces of wood. Well, this is the same piece of wood, so we don't need a binding, but we've gotten used to how it looks, and it looks good. It's pretty, it's nice, it's classy, and definitely an instrument that has binding is classier than one that doesn't, in that it's, you know, the guitar maker, in the case of an acoustic guitar, cared about covering up the seam between the two woods where they met. And in the case of an electric guitar, where binding isn't necessary, guitar manufacturer is doing it for the pure aesthetic reason. And yeah, it's now guitar binding, a very practical thing, is now this aesthetic thing. All right, we're reaching the end here where we started. And yes, we have found there's been a few little spaces here and there where there was a little bit of that pink bleed over. And yeah, that's looking great. Okay, it's looking lighter than the other binding. That's just because it's wet. The acrylic in here ends up making the paint look lighter, because it's clear. It's clear gel with glitter suspended in it. So you don't have the opposite effect. Usually, a paint looks a little darker when it's wet, and then when it dries, it lightens up a bit. This is the opposite, because there's no wetness. There's not the glitter reflects more than water ever would. So the wetness of the glitter beats out the wetness of the moisture. So anyway, we've finished this little part of the guitar build, and give Stacy Shea a quick report that her guitar is progressing steadily, and I'm thinking looks like next time I'll take a look and see how everything looks. And we're not looking for everything to be perfect, but We want everything to pop, want it to look good. And yeah, I'm not trying to fool anybody into thinking that this is real binding. I'm actually, I don't mind if there's a little bit of roughness, edginess about it, because that'll just sort of highlight the artifice, and I kind of like that idea. And we'll take a look at it and see, and at that point, if it is ready, we may just do another sealer coat. And if we're doing sealer coats, then the next stage is going to be the clear coat. And after that is wiring and construction, and that will be the end of this build. So I'm looking forward to that, getting to that with you. Thanks for coming along on the ride. And thank you to Make Every Media. Thanks to Mike Furstenfeld, Seth Cleveland for editing, and Ross Victor also for editing help, and Michael for the producing help. And I always love to give a shout out to Health Alliance for Austin Musicians and the Sims Foundation, the sister organizations that help musicians with health and mental health issues, respectively. HAM helps folks with health issues, health insurance, access to wellness programs and whatnot, and Sims Foundation helps out with mental health and addiction problems. And because I'm Earl Pottymouth Arbuckle, and Earl Pottymouth Arbuckle is all about prostate cancer awareness, I'd like to give a shout out to the Prostate Cancer Foundation and say hello to the folks over there. And a shout out to you. Once again, thanks for coming by and watching. And I hope you come back. See you soon.
Well, you're raising the dead, or shooting for the stars. Well, you can't go wrong with a Pottymouth guitar.